Alrighty. This works. All right, are you seeing the PowerPoint big? Awesome, okay. So welcome to the information session for our Berlin summer program, Engineering Laboratory Experience. It is one of our longest running, most successful study abroad programs. And we are honored to have the creator join us, or one of the creators join us today in the info session, Professor Volker-Sick. So we'll start with some introductions. I'm Miranda Roberts. I am the director of the International Programs and Engineering Office here in the college. And Professor Sick.
So yeah, my name is Volker-Sick. I'm a professor of mechanical engineering and have been part of the International Programs Office and Programs in Engineering for quite some time in various roles. Excited to be back with the 2022 program.
Yes, thank you. All right, so we'll jump in and kind of give you some overview of the program, and then Professor Sick can help us understand some of the projects that we have on offer this summer, and then we'll take some Q&A at the end. So just real quick, this program was designed to give students the opportunity to learn about German culture and the German language, as well as specific training within engineering. The details for summer 2022 is that we'll start May.
Miranda, you're muted. I cannot hear you anymore.
There we go. Not sure what happened. All right, so I'll start over. So the main program, the reason it was started was to give students the experience to experience German culture, learn the German language, and get some hands-on practical training within the field of engineering. This summer's details are, as you can see on the screen, early May to mid-June is our dates. The fee has been set at about $4,355, and we'll get into what that includes in a little bit later. Students on this program are housed in off-campus apartments. And then the deadline to apply for this program has been set at February 14th. There we go. Okay, so what is included in that program fee? So that includes your required GeoBlue International Health Insurance that the University of Michigan has. It includes the orientation program that you'll be going through with IPE. It includes your housing in Berlin. It includes the tuition and expenses for the German language course, as well as the lab experience in Germany. It includes a public transportation pass to get yourself around the wonderful city of Berlin. And that includes also the on-site orientation when you arrive at TU Berlin. It includes some cultural excursions, as well as some industry visits, some social activities that you'll do as a cohort. You'll also receive a TU Berlin student card, which gets you into the libraries, as well as the student cafeterias. What it doesn't include is your personal spending money and your airfare ticket to get you to Germany. A little bit about TU Berlin, and Professor Sick, go ahead and feel free to jump in. You have a long-standing relationship with our colleagues there as well, but it's roughly a little bit smaller than U of M in terms of total student population, with 33,000 students enrolled. It is an urban campus in that the university is in the city center, or and is surrounded by Berlin city proper, which also means it's easily connected to other parts of the city, as you can see from the S-Bahn, I believe that is, map that I put on there. So lots of ways to get around the city because it is kind of centrally located. Anything else to add?
Yeah, I think what's also important is that Berlin is a very typical sort of older university in Germany, meaning that while it has a central campus area, over the years, centuries literally, it has grown. And since it's in the middle of a city, it couldn't grow naturally like you would have seen, for example, here at the University of Michigan. And even there, we ran into space issues, right? So that's why some of the facilities, some of the institutes will be in different parts of the city. So the look and feel is somewhat different, but overall, I think it's closer to a central campus feel rather than North Campus.
For sure. All right, so a little bit snapshot about Berlin if you're not familiar. It is home to 3 UNESCO World Heritage sites. It is one of the greenest cities in Germany, with about 44% of its makeup being waterways, woods, rivers, and green areas. So it is quite green, even though it is an urban capital city of Europe with over 3.5 million residents. There's a lot of history in Berlin, and you will be able to utilize that as a student and have Berlin be your classroom. There's a really wonderful Holocaust memorial in Berlin. You can see the remnants of the Berlin Wall. There's a couple of museums designated to that. The Brandenburg Gate, which has now become famous for reunification of East-West Germany. As well as the political seats of parliament and the Bundestag, as the Germans call it, are right there in Berlin as well. So it's a great mix of history, politics, art, and of course, engineering and science. Anything else to add, Volker? Highlights of Berlin?
Well, just to add to the Germany's greenest city label, it has more canals and bridges than Venice, which is typically known as a city that is dominated in appearance and attractiveness by its waterways. And in the summer, there's so much outdoors activities that are going on with all kinds of almost flash mob type food opportunities in parks and beach bars and whatnot else. So it's really an exciting place to be.
All right, so getting into the academics of the program. So the first part of it is the language, German language. So depending on your prior level of German language experience, you'll be placed into that corresponding level of German language at our partner in Berlin. So we offer 100 level, 200 level, and 300 level, and there'll be a placement exam that you will take as part of the pre-departure process with IPE to kind of determine what level we should place you in Germany, and that is worth 3 credits. So it's 6 credits total for the summer. So 3 credits will be the language. And then the other 3 credits are coming from Engineering 350, which is engineering laboratory experience. And right now we have these 5 projects that have been confirmed with our German counterparts and German faculty and graduate students who will be running these projects. And maybe I'll have Professor Sick talk a little bit more about the structure of how the projects are run and the groups and
certainly and also address sort of the why does it say prerequisites to be determined.
Yes,
it very much depends also on who applies to the program, right? Because our instructional partners in Berlin can cater to the prerequisites that students have. So we don't want to be too prescriptive and too strict with filtering up front. So if you have an interest in any one of these, do not worry to apply. Just put your check marks in the respective boxes. But that said, these programs, these laboratory experiences will take place in research institutes that are in various areas of the campus, as I indicated. It's not all into the one little city block, which in of itself makes it more interesting, more lively, just to get there and roam around the city and on the way see interesting things. But to the core of it, it really is a directed program with lectures, with laboratory work, where depending on the program, there is a lot of simulations. There could be hands-on building experiments. And let's start with a few details. Printing would be a 3D printing experiment. And there, I think it's part of sort of coming up with the design, and then also, of course, demonstrating that you can actually make something and how this works. This is obviously an area that is very rapidly gaining in relevance. A few years ago, it was rare to see a 3D printer anywhere. Now they are everywhere, literally. Therefore, this is a good way to sort of get introduced to that and learn more about it. You also can't escape thinking and hearing about energy. And there's a student-run energy seminar that is very successful, has existed for a long time at TU Berlin. And it's more senior students that come up with project ideas, and those are then conducted with student teams that enroll. Usually they focus on building and distributing devices, processes that benefit the community, could be built on recycled materials and whatnot else. So we've had very exciting projects over the years that included a portable karaoke station, lawnmowers turned into plastic shredders, and whatnot else. Equally long, we have offered a project on road vehicle aerodynamics, essentially looking at what makes a vehicle more streamlined so that it could go either faster or use less energy or both. And to accomplish that, actually we'll run wind tunnel tests, instrument a small model of vehicles, modify these vehicles, and then measure what is the resistance to wind and understand why it changes. So that's fun and really a lot of hands-on experience as well. The renewable energy program looks at actually a simulation-based study where you would analyze what is the best mix of renewable electricity produced by solar or wind devices, and study that for different locations, various places of the world, to sort of see how critically it depends on location, but also on usage pattern. Energy needs will play a role in that too. So that has been a program that was frequently even oversubscribed, and I would assume that this could happen again here in this forthcoming season. And then lastly, the robot programming experiments are literally, as the title says, you will write code to program robots to accomplish particular tasks. Those could be searching for objects in an apartment or in a prescribed layout. It could be a challenge that looks at warehousing, moving objects in a simulated model warehouse, and see who gets this done fastest. So I think common to all of these projects is that they are not cookie cutter assignments where you do something where everybody knows what the outcome is. I mean, we know what type of outcome will be the results, but what you make out of it is really where it gets exciting. What you print, how you build the things in the NLG seminar, etc. So I think that's a big part of this summer school in the first place, the engineering project openness, but also experiencing life in another city, in another culture, not knowing your way around in the first place, and quickly learning how this all works and be proud about it. I'll stop here, Miranda.
Thanks. That was a great overview. All right, so getting into some of the practical matters. As I had mentioned earlier, students are living in off-campus apartments in the city. And so we contract with one or two usually different student housing apartment complexes. And so you will have your own single room in one of these apartment complexes. But just to give you a heads up that it is usually within a half hour to 45-minute of a commute, depending on which apartment complex you're placed in and what institute your project is being run out of, given that TU Berlin is kind of spread throughout the city. But just so you know, that's very common. A lot of the students live kind of in these student apartment complexes that are a little bit further out of the city center, and then they commute into classes, into the lab. So you'll get a very authentic experience of what a student living in Berlin is like when you're living in these student housing. But yet they'll have kitchens for you, so you can cook for yourself, and obviously you'll have access to the student cafeterias for cheap meals as well. Program excursions and activities. So there is a welcome Berlin boat tour. So you're on a dinner, I don't know how to explain it, like a dinner cruise on a boat that goes on one of the many waterways within the city of Berlin. So it's a great way to see the sights, but also to get to know everyone that's on the program. And then on the other end of the program, there's a farewell barbecue that's included as a great way to kind of wrap up the program and wrap up the summer. But during the course of go ahead, Wilbur.
And the exciting part about the farewell barbecue is that the U of M students will actually cook for your instructors.
I forgot.
All the ingredients will be provided. Actually, you'll be sent shopping, and part of the program is covering that. But you will actually have flexibility in choosing what you want to serve. Always a lot of fun.
American barbecue. Yeah.
There you go.
For our German colleagues. Yeah, but then during the course of the 6 weeks that you are in Germany, there is a lot of cultural activities that are planned. So here's a sampling of what our program partners have arranged for our students in the past. Everything from walking tours of the city to some scheduled toured tours at the local brewery or at the government building, the Bundestag, as I said. And then they also arrange usually 2 to 3 industry site visits during the course of the summer school. So getting you out into various sectors of Berlin engineering world to kind of get a sense of what that's like in Berlin. So these are examples of places that our students have visited in the past. Okay, so next steps, if you are interested in applying to this program, would be to complete your application in mCompass. The deadline is February 14th. Making sure that if you don't already have a passport, that is something you mark on your to-do list to do over winter break, because in order to get a passport, you have to produce original documents, including your birth certificate, which might be at home with your family and loved ones. And so break is a great time to get the passport applied for. It is taking longer due to COVID. So we were wanting to encourage students to make sure you have a valid passport as soon as possible. And if you don't, apply for one. But just kind of giving a heads up on the next step. So you apply by the 14th. My office staff and advisors will review applications and make admissions decisions. That typically takes us about a week. And then students have a week to 2 weeks to consider their offer letter and then commit to the program. And so for this year, how it works out is you'll be asked to confirm your participation on the program that Monday after spring break, which is March 6th, I think is the date. So you'll get admitted before spring break, and then you'll commit right when you get back. There may be a wait list for this program because you are placed into the specific project. So one of your application materials will be to rank your preference of the 5 projects that are available on this program. And then you are admitted into that project. And so there may end up being a wait list for certain projects and also a wait list for the program overall. If that happens, you'll be working with an advisor on my staff to kind of weigh your options, and also considering maybe applying to another program as a backup, but hopefully that we can, accommodate you as people make their decisions. If we have a lot of interest, there is a possibility that we could expand and offer a summer session of this same program. So this program is set May to June, but if there's a lot of overwhelming interest, and we have enough to run a second session, that would be something that we would decide in February as well. And that would be a July to August session. So more to come on that, but that just is based on student interest and who applies. But we do have that option. And then next item is to check and see if you need a visa to study in Germany. So US passport holders do not need a visa if they stay in Europe less than 90 days, which the summer program is less than 90 days. But if you are not a US passport holder, we encourage you to look into that earlier rather than later to figure out if you need a visa and what that process and timeline is looking like. Particularly with COVID, things are taking a lot longer, particularly with government related items to get processed and get a result. And then lastly, as you think about finances for the program, so of course the program fee is set, but there's things that fee does not include, as we already discussed. So making sure you have conversations with your family about your personal finances for the program, but then also if you're on financial aid, with the University of Michigan, having conversations with the financial aid office to see what you might be eligible for this summer. So all of our programs, you are able to use financial aid if you're eligible. And then also IPE has additional scholarships for students that you can apply for as well. But definitely want to start planning on the finances side of things too. All right, so that was all of the information. Volker, did I miss anything before we open it up for Q&A?
No, I think this was a whirlwind of an overview, and probably enough to get started and wait for questions.
Okay, let's see. So yeah, so if you want, you can unmute yourself and ask in real time, or you can put them in chat and we can take them there. Does anyone have any questions?
So Kaylee, Ryan, let me ask you, what piqued your interest in this program?
I've actually been interested in studying abroad since I was applying to college 2 years ago. And my roommate and I have been taking German for a year.
Wunderbar. Sehr schön. How about you, Ryan?
I'm just interested in kind of experiencing a different non-American perspective. So that's kind of why I want to go somewhere else.
Perfect.
Good reason to consider that, and if you can bring along home a few academic credits, even better.
Sure. Excellent.
So what would you probably still need to know or want to know before you submit your application? Or do you have everything that you've heard today and said, okay, I'm ready now to submit my application, choose a project, and take it from there?
I'm ready to go.
Miranda,
it's been a while.
I think, yeah, Miranda, I think you nailed it. You've anticipated all questions, all concerns, and we're good to go. Now, I should probably say before we sort of log off here, I will be part of the program, plan to be there at the beginning or at the end. We'll see if things work out really well. I'll be there at the beginning and end. But part of the cultural experience that we offer are a few assignments that I will send to you, very often informed by what students report from everyday experiences in Berlin, where we unpack this literally on the fly. It's always a lot of fun to engage this way. So, but more to come once you're in Berlin.
Yeah. And Volker obviously knows Berlin quite well. I myself studied abroad in Potsdam, which is, I guess, considered a suburb of Berlin. I don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a lot of time in my junior year in the Berlin vicinity as well. So can answer questions too. And I studied German, but it's very rusty at the moment. But it's amazing how quickly it comes back whenever I touch down in Germany when I'm crossing through Europe. So, well, excellent. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Professor Sick, for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join us on this info session. And I will send out the slides to you and to Ryan and Kaylee, so you have that to refer back to as well. All right. And encourage your friends to apply. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you very much.